go ahead and we'll get started. Call the meeting to order. First off, we'll just review, hopefully everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting. Take a motion if you have for that.
I motion to approve the meeting, or the minutes from the last meeting. Brad?
Second.
Mike. Motion has been made and seconded that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. CFPS, I guess.
No public hearings today. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one listed here is from NIPSCO. It's on the Lee, J, and the LEHMAN drains down in the southern part of Washington Township. Guessing they're doing a gas line project, and it's going to cross into these ditches. I probably have the notes here somewhere. Subsurface, let's say 20-inch natural gas pipeline.
Ooh.
And then it says it'll be installed via open cut across the ditches that, well, we'll have to get details. Do you know anything more about that, Max?
No, I do not.
We still make them go under, or do we just have to work with whatever they do?
We make them go under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually they bore it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that SWIP that I reviewed, they showed boring pits on either side.
Big pipe.
Yeah.
Any concern?
No.
Any discussion?
I move we approve NIPSCO's request as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded that we approve the crossing of the tiles with the 20-inch natural gas pipeline for NIPSCO. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
And that was Dave, seconded by Mike. Is that?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
No.
Tough being secretary.
Yeah. Do everything.
Okay, so the second one is from Brad Minear on the Phillips ditch in town here. Off of Lincoln Way, if you don't know where it is. Oh, there's the contours. Proposing to put an in-ground pool approximately 19 feet away from the ditch.
Is it an open drain or a column?
Is there gonna be enough room to get that dipped if we have to?
Brad and I were talking about it. We can still get an excavator through there for if we have to even log jam, whatever. It's gonna be tight. I'm not sure exactly how close the pool is. There's an apron, I believe.
Yeah, I put, I'm Brad here, by the way. I did a drawing, I did have, it'd be about 19 feet from the closest bank.
Mhm.
I did have Trent King come out and take a look at it. I do have a letter from him.
Okay.
I had him come out to see if he thought he would have enough equipment space. He said for him, he thought he would need clearance of about 15 feet. And he thought with the 19 feet, he'd have enough room to be able to get in and do
Yeah.
any, I don't know if you really see this.
And Brad looked up some excavator specs and some widths, and 11 to 12 feet probably. We kind of discussed that the only thing, if we did approve it, we would probably want to have something, maybe Matt draw up saying that we're not responsible in case, just with the excavator going through, shaking the ground, if it would crack
Yeah.
a approach or a pad or even damage your pool, we wouldn't be able to be responsible for it. But I mean, I think we'll be fine. Whoever would do it, we'd make sure they're careful and, not intentionally do anything. We talked if we did have to dip it through there, we would maybe have to haul out the spoils because it's in everybody's backyards through there. So, I don't know that we've done it like that before, but looking.
One thing I'll mention too, 875, which is 2 properties up, they're only about 16 feet from the edge of the creek. So we already, I mean, in my opinion, there's already pretty
Yeah.
close from the edge of their concrete to where it falls. There's only about 15 or 16 feet on that property.
That's pretty tight quarters back there.
And I don't know
What's
about,
the other side of the ditch like?
it's trees.
Can't go to that side?
Yeah. And we do, run the spray rigs through there, I believe, we were talking about that. So, you know,
I don't have a problem.
it's tight, but we'll be okay, just as long as, you know, you understand if something would happen to a sidewalk, it'd crack. I mean,
So I understand that.
but,
I don't have a problem with doing it. I know it's pretty tight,
Yeah.
but I think we ought to have some kind of agreement that,
Okay.
like you said, if excavator goes through there and the ground moves or something.
yeah,
that
just
we're
have
not-
Matt write something up and,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be
I'm
fine.
not worried about Brad, it's the next guy that buys it
Yeah.
after he has it.
Well, yeah, and
A lot of
that's,
trouble with
that's
it.
why we need to make sure we're covered
something in it.
for the future. But, so, anything else? We're good with it as long as you guys are.
What do you think?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve that as presented with the addition of having the attorney or Matt look at that and so we're not liable for something of that nature.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Mike and Brad. A motion's been made and seconded that we approve the above-ground pool, or excuse me, below-ground pool for Brad Minear on the Phillips C drain, as long as it includes a provision that says we're not liable if we do any work on the ditch for any damages to the pool. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Gentlemen.
Good to go.
Yep.
Brad, are you doing minutes?
I have the YouTube recording, my phone recording, and I'm ready down first and
I
second.
just happen to wonder since Dennis not here. I wonder if.
We're doing the best we can here. Okay, we'll move on to the next one for the White Bee.
Yes. Wait for ARC map to load here. This is out in Etna, Troy, along SR5. They are proposing to install a new driveway that will cross the tile. Max can talk more about this, but we did talk this morning about they did agree to replace the pipe under the tile, but for this particular tile, we don't specifically think that that's a great idea because of the shape of the tile as a whole, and Max can elaborate.
So we've had, we just raised this, I don't know if it's this year or last year on the White Bee. It still doesn't collect much. It collects about $2,500 a year. We had Dennis and Tyler Wolf complaining about the water not getting under 5. I don't know that there's a problem under 5, but if you look on your maps, you can see where the tile runs, there's a bunch of trees that have been planted throughout the years. So one of the last big rains, I went out through there to see, we didn't have much on the north side of 5, but I could see where the water was coming up, where the tile is, all through the trees, making its way through a swell. So if you get over here to the next 2 properties, there's trees, there's woods, there's big suckles. The tile's in bad shape. At this point, I have a work order to come out and explore through their property, probably remove some trees and stuff like that. So at this point, I just, if they want to do the driveway now, that's fine, but if we come up and have to dig through it and they need it backfilled to the top with stone, it's going to be on them because, you know, they're going to cross the tile. So I don't see any point in, I don't know if the tile's any good to where they're going to cross anyways. So if they do it now, that's fine, but when we come up to explore, or if they want to wait till after we explore, but I don't know exactly where we're going to have to dig until we get a locator in there, and probably the whole tile needs replaced at some point in time.
What's the timetable on the driveway? How soon they want to put that in?
I don't know that. I don't know. We don't have any notes on that. I don't know when they want to put it in for sure, but
And they should get a permit from NDOT too.
I would prefer, I mean, I'm okay if we approve it, but after you've looked and made sure that they're not gonna cause a problem if it's.
Right.
I mean, if they start driving over it, it isn't that bad a shape. I mean, I don't wanna make it even worse.
shut it off, yeah. Okay. So there is only, I looked it up, there's only like $995 in there. It collects 25 or 28, and that won't be until this year. So,
That won't
like I
go
said, we
far.
don't have a whole lot of money in there to work with, so it's just another one of those tiles that doesn't bring much money.
How big? Do you have any idea?
It's only maybe a 10 or 12, maybe, if that. I've seen it on the north side. Tyler had it dug up because they tied a tile into it, even though it wasn't working. So,
I guess approve it, and if it causes trouble, they'll fix the tile under the driveway.
Okay.
That sound right?
yeah, we can approve it, and if we do have any problems with them right there, or they just need to understand if we do have to replace it, they're gonna be responsible for replacing their stone from the bottom of the trench all the way to the top, so it doesn't settle. So we can make sure that.
I would say they're gonna replace the pipe too, cause there's not money in there, and it wouldn't have been worse if they didn't drive on it, so.
Right.
I mean, I would make them replace the pipe and the gravel under the driveway if it.
And we can have them replaced, they agreed to replace.
I mean, they don't have to do
that
it now, I mean,
section.
if they wanna
If
wait,
anything,
but
yeah.
if it causes damage, I mean, there's not money in there to fix it, so.
Right.
If it causes damage, they're gonna agree to fix it.
But if we do end up replacing, doing a whole tile, then we may have to,
That's
move our elevations,
That's
and
fine.
then we'll be throwing away their good money also, so.
That's what I'm saying, they don't have to do it now,
Yeah.
but if it causes a problem, I mean, they'll plan on replacing it then, just because
Okay.
they don't have money in there to fix it. I
Yep.
mean, that sound fair? I mean, we won't hold them back, but they don't need to hold us back either, so.
Sounds good to me.
Got a motion, anybody, that,
I move we accept the request as presented with the, how do I say that, with the,
Provision?
make sure they
understand?
understand they gotta take care of that tile and maybe later have to do it again, so.
Yep.
Okay.
All
Yep.
right.
Second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we, approve the driveway construction as long as they understand that they may have to replace the pipe if the driveway causes an issue with it and backfill it with stone as required. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. In the REE now?
Yes. Yeah, so this one is on the RE, also an open drain or an open ditch, and they are replacing an old home with a new home 30 feet from the top of the bank. I did not find any evidence of the old home on the recent aerials, but it is as shown. I haven't really looked into this one, but there are other homes that seem to be about this close along this ditch.
No known issues then? Okay.
Is this the Busco one you're talking about?
No, this is Don Britten Ulrey.
Oh.
Got a motion for it, or?
So we know what it is?
Yeah, they're wanting to build a new home.
New home, yeah,
Just
it's a new home.
30 feet from the bank.
Years ago, there was a home already there, they're saying.
The
Or did it
note
just
says that
burn?
they're replacing an old home, yes.
It's been more than 30 years since there's been a house there.
Really?
So I've been house there since I've been at this
Right.
facility. They're putting a new septic to the west there, but there is a drainage line and swale from the road to that little stone part where the yellow star is. So we're going to still look at that as well. So there is a drain there that drains that road.
So this must be some sort of catch basin or
There's an
structure.
open catch basin there with stone. And there's a open, it's not standpipe, but a grate at the road that catches the water on the road. So,
I mean, there was one there supposedly at one time. We'll have room to work through there.
That's a high spot where they're wanting to put it.
Yeah. So I don't see a problem with it as long as we get through there.
It doesn't look like there's much of a working site on this
Yeah.
ditch anyways.
Okay.
Not gonna be in there dipping unless we clear and
Okay. I'll move to approve the request from Shane Barkley, Top Notch Services on the 729-000A, ULREY E, as presented.
Second.
Robin, Mike, get that? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the CFPS for Shane Barkley from Top Notch on the ULREY E, as long as the house is set back at least 30 feet from the top of the bank. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. On to an owner-funded reconstruction.
Yes, so, the town of Churubusco has come to us before about this RAPP drain that moves through, kind of up and around Churubusco and then through it. We have a plan to replace the entire thing, but we're just slow, and so they got community crossings money from NDOT to pave their street and replace the drain under the street that they're paving as part of their community crossings project. So, see if it loads here. It's this street here, I think it's Weston Avenue, right here in this yellow line. So the drain actually comes to this corner and then goes along the curb line up to about here, and then it crosses the road. That's per the surveys that their engineer did. They're going to kind of realign it to go out into the road a little more and then just cut straight across here. They are replacing it with just either 30 or 36, whatever it was what we were planning on replacing it as a part of our project. And we checked the grades, and the grades should match for us to tie in when we do the rest of our project. We're doing it kind of out of order, but it's on, Churubusco's got the money and then are doing the projects. Everything looked fine to me. I do have a set of engineering plans if anybody would like to look at it in more detail. After me.
So the tile, that red line, that's where the tile exists now, right? Because we had a
Approximately,
problem with that
yeah.
tree at one time. Are those trees in there? Okay.
This is downstream of the majority of the tree problems up in the Kleckner and Reed properties. There's still a lot of problems in here.
Yes.
And then there is some problems through this area too. It's deep and it's got a bunch of stuff in it.
So they want to they're moving the tile over, it looks like.
They are.
Okay. Are they gonna hook it back in to the red one?
They are, yep, on both top and bottom. So our tile, they did a bunch of survey. If I can find the right tool. We think the tile actually goes like this.
Yeah, and then cuts on the edge of that house.
So they'll tie in here, and they'll tie in right here.
You don't think that when we replace the whole thing, that we'll get more depth, and then we'll wish that
No,
That
there,
was the-
we should be, our grade should align
match up.
what we have so far. It should align on both ends there, that 330 foot or whatever they're putting in. We should be able, because we will be lowering it coming from the open ditch under
Right.
205. And
Well, it's already like 9 feet deep here, so.
Yeah.
We got plenty of.
Yeah.
It's in the part that we've actually already replaced in the last few years north of town where cover becomes a problem, and if we were to make it bigger, then we'd have to do something there, but.
I move that we approve the owner-funded reconstruction on the 561-00B RAPP G drain as presented. Churubusco.
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded that we approve the owner-funded reconstruction on the 561-000B RAPP G drain for the town of Churubusco. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Looks like we are on to Scott. Looks like Scott wants to talk to us here.
Morning.
Morning.
So I live out on Page Road, just around the corner from Rayburg. I'll show you here on the drawing. Larry Bollinger built a lot of those roads back in the day, and he put this tile in back in the 60s, I believe, or early 70s. So you can see there the drainage area and the approximate location pretty close to where the tile is. And it runs from my spot there, 1936, all the way to the Eel River, just under 1,100 feet. That is an 8-inch clay tile. It's 9 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot at my property line, 10 foot across the Schroefs and the Deer property before it heads down through the Schraders, under the Page Road to Schraders and out to the river there. Last time it was worked on was 1985, and then this year, after the beginning of March, once we had a bunch of rain, it didn't go away. That's the first time I've ever had any problems with it. And so brought Wygens out to take a look at that. They dug at my property line, finally found it. Like I said, 8-9 foot deep there. Got their jetting truck out there, the 2-inch line jetting truck, and tried to jet it to the west. Came across some barriers about middle of Schroef's driveway, the asphalt driveway. And so then they went down onto Doug Trader's and jetted it back east to see if they had the same kind of issues. Well, during that process, a hole opened up underneath the Schroef's driveway, so we knew exactly where the problem was, obviously. Same place they had in 1985. So they must have not fixed it very well in 1985. So just as it crosses the corner of that sidewalk and asphalt on the 1994 property. So I just came in with a box, repaired that to SDR 35 down there, put a clean out on my property, so we know where that is, SDR 35 property, clean out my property, and pressurize it both directions. So we know from my standpipe at my property line to to the east, the standpipe out in the yard, it's clean, and then from there all the way to the river, it's clean. And we had that 4 inches of rain just 2 weekends ago. There was a puddle out there for about 8 hours and then it was gone. So I'm here to see if you guys would have any notion to take this over as a county tile, since it drains, since it meets the state qualifications for that. But before I put money into hiring an attorney and bringing all that forward, since I'm about $21,000 now on this project, before I spend the money on an attorney to make this a county thing, bring it to you guys, I just want to see if you had any inclination at all. I know it's not really draining farm ground, doesn't drain a big area, does involve quite a few property owners. Brad, want to say anything on it? I know Brad did the work for me on, make sure it had the 20% and 5% or whatever it was.
I was just gonna bring up the code, I should have brought that up before, but in case there were questions on it. I don't know, I think I had counted before how many property owners were affected.
Is this the watershed that you have kind of highlighted?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it goes to the east even further on to.
Well, I don't have it shown west of Page Road too, because unless we go ahead and put perforated tile in there, then it would draw water west of Page Road. Otherwise, it just sheet flows down into the river. But yes, it does go out into the field just a little bit there, and covers these properties down here too.
Talk to your neighbors about it?
Yeah, they're like, thanks for fixing that for us.
Yeah, but they have have you talked to them about making a county
No, I
tile?
haven't talked to them about it at all. I wanted to see what guys thought. They probably, I wouldn't imagine it's gonna collect a whole lot of money, but they are older folks to the west of me, and they're probably not gonna be happy, I'm sure.
So do you want to make it a county tile for access purposes or for collection purposes, or both? So
That's
that
it,
way,
yeah.
we do have a right
If it
to.
goes another 40 years before it has a problem again, that'd be great. What, 40 years and not have a problem again? But I mean, if it breaks up again somewhere else, I don't know that I can keep on doing all that. Might just have to hitch up the house and move it to somewhere else and let that be a pond out there. I mean, I think, the house was built in '99, so they had no, or '98, but they had no idea that flooded like that, that bad.
Never
The
did till
tile,
this
when they
year.
dug it up, was it collapsed or was it plugged or?
Yeah, so right there under the driveway, in fact, when we were started the project, Mr. Shrove came over, he's like, my asphalt's dipping. You can
Yeah.
see there was holding, when it rained, there was a little bit of a dip right there. He's like, that's where we had the problem before.
Yeah.
So when they got in there, they had all kinds of junk underneath there, like bank run and all kinds of stuff, and it just wasn't holding well.
Yeah.
So this time when they fixed that, they put that SDR 35 in there, they put in some really good crushed limestone mix and used a compactor on that all the way up to the top.
Okay.
In fact, we still haven't done the asphalt. The concrete on the sidewalk just got done this week, this last week, Friday. The asphalt's still be done yet, but it's coming. It should be here this month or so.
So you guys already had to go through the concrete and you cut the asphalt driveway?
Yeah, they used their trench box. It was 10 foot deep.
A lot of us probably haven't been through setting up a county tile. What are the regulations or what?
So the petition can be filed by the owners of 10% or more in acreage of the drainage area, and since it's less than 20 acres and Scott has more than 2, that puts him at over 10%, so he can file the petition on his own. And then there's a huge list of things of what the petition has to have in it.
Okay.
And then from there, we have to do a preliminary inspection and report on the area and the condition of and what it would entail. And then from there, it goes to a notice of hearing for a public hearing. We hold the public hearing and go from there.
I guess I don't see a problem with doing it because it's got quite a few people that are involved, so it shouldn't be him just covering the cost by himself.
Only thing is it's not gonna bring in a whole lot.
Yeah.
We will only be able to collect 4 years and then we'll be at our max. So if we would have a problem, then, you know, you guys would have to decide if you'd wanna go in the red for multiple years to replace it or fix it
Yeah.
or whatever we need to do.
How many, you don't know, do you have the minimums and all that stuff? Yeah.
I haven't really looked into it that much, no.
Zoom back out once.
I think there was about
But-
Like about
About
8
8 properties.
But in the past, that I know of, when we do cross a driveway or concrete, that's up to the homeowner to replace that on their,
Yeah.
on their dime. So, you know, they would have to be, I don't know if you're paying for it this time or.
I am.
Is you've got an easement to cross them?
Yes.
Is that right?
So there is a deed easement on my property that goes across all 3 of those to get to, well, actually traders, all 4 of them to get to the river. So it is deeded and marked. I should have, you don't have, I do have a copy of that, so. Yeah, I have the right to enter properties for terms of construction, so that should be already there to be able to copy that to the county.
That would just be the one, I mean, they may not like that they would have to replace it, but is it right that you have to?
well, really the people that it runs through are the people that are gonna be paying on it.
Yeah.
Really, the only people that it doesn't run through their property are these people down here. That's why I don't see a real problem with it, I guess.
I guess you know more after you, I'm not against it, but you know more after you've done your inspection on that tile. You know, do we want to take over a tile that's collapsing already or?
Well, at least, how many feet did they put in, Scott, do you know?
Oh, probably 25, 30 feet.
Just through that driveway section?
And when they pressurized it, we actually had builders out there too to look at, because we thought first maybe it was a root issue, because there are, sure, pine trees, but they're usually pretty shallow pine trees. But I had a maple right there by my well, and it was in there pretty good. So we tore out 4 trees, and they're still in my backyard, so if anybody wants any wood, let me know.
Yeah.
We tore those trees out because I didn't want to have any issues from now on. So that line is clean all the way through my property, no issues there. They did pull out some roots when we did it initially. And like I said, they put back in a PVC standpipe, 8-inch pipe up there, so it can be, you can look down in there and see. You can even actually run a snake down there if you need to or something. So. And my septic has no involvement, and my septic's to the east and northeast of my house, so this is just strictly only drainage. I'm not out here trying to get my septic to the river.
You have to call the health department about
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a problem. So I just need to know if you'd even consider it before I start the process, because also it's gonna be a couple thousand, probably to get an attorney to write this up and submit it.
Make a decision on this. I think you need to check, do what you have to do and bring it back to us to make a decision on this before we do anything.
And as far as what you want me to do is,
Assess the tile, and then probably have Matt look over it.
Matt needs to tell us what all
Yeah.
it has, what criteria it has to meet.
I don't think I've ever done one.
If you haven't done it, we
No,
haven't.
I haven't. I think Jenny said it's been a long time.
We'll assess the tile, we'll do a mock assessment calculator
What
so we
it'll
can
look
figure
like, yeah.
out some assessment values to talk about. But yeah, we'll look at because there's different things that happens if we give a negative report versus a positive report, stuff like that.
So just come back in July and see what your findings are, and
Yeah.
they can tell me whether to proceed with the petition or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I said, I just ran their 2-inch pressure line all the way down the whole thing, so it should be open. And it drained the other weekend really good. We had 4 inches of rain. I mean,
Yeah.
if you take 4 inches one night, it's pretty good. So,
Yeah.
How'd you get the grass to grow back so fast?
water? Just screw back.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
I was, cause I threw there and
It was
I,
under 6 weeks. 6 weeks total.
yeah, that's why I drove by and I was like,
There's still spots out there, but yeah, it grew back fairly well.
yeah.
I just gotta get the rest of the yard done, but you know, you wanna let it settle for a while before you do all that.
So we want to table that till next month?
Yeah, we'll figure out what we need to do.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay. So, I'm ready to move on, sorry. Ready?
Oh, sorry, I was reading, okay. Okay, we got done with Scott Wagner, we'll move on to the engineer's report on the Guy F1.
So I don't know if anybody was contacted by Chris Long the past week or two, but this is over in Richland Township. This is the kind of the notch in the county. This is Kosciuszko County. Larwell is up, or no, this is this Larwell is up here. Chris Long has a bunch of fields down here on the Guy F1 drain. He was noticing a significant amount of ponding and flooding on his fields, especially up in this area, and suspected that it was in relation to a stream restoration project that has been going on in Kosciuszko County on this open drain here, which I think we call the Rathburn, and then it becomes Deeds Creek when it's in Kosciuszko County. And so they've been doing this massive project of putting in check dams and grade control structures and reconstructing all the banks.
Yeah, that's the watershed foundation that's been doing the project.
So he thinks he's getting more water, basically, or?
So the tile has always come out basically in the bottom of a pool here where it comes into Deeds Creek. But what happened in the project is they installed one of their grade control structures or check dams right just downstream of where the tile comes out, and the top of the dam is above the top of the tile outlet. So the lowest the water can go is above the tile outlet. So the Guy F1 does drain just very slowly because there's not near as much head vertical difference as there was previously.
What kind of falls on that top? Is it
It's
pretty
not
flat?
very much at all.
So it doesn't have much push.
I have talked with Jim Moyer, the new Kosciuszko County surveyor. He has reached out to the surveyor that was on the original stream project, who used to be a county surveyor somewhere else. I left my notebook at home, so I don't have his name, but so he's gonna take some shots of the ditch and our tile and the ground around it. And Mr. Moyer's recommendation is we kind of do a three-pronged strategy here. He is going to propose a dipping project for the Deeds Creek ditch south of the stream restoration project to help lower the grade downstream of the project. He's also going to look at removing the next two check dams or grade control structures from the restoration project, so the one immediately downstream from the tile and the next one, which should lower the water level. And he's going to ask the surveyor who worked on this project to look at the possibility of raising the Guy F1 tile to get more clearance there. However, we may need to upsize the tile, which might even make it even more difficult to raise it. So that is what he recommended. He did ask if we had money in the Guy drain, if we would help, fund the tile raise or part of the project with that. But that was his.
I don't think tile
Max,
raise
do you have anything to add?
So I was out there last year looking on the Guy. through Chris Long's, it's a tile, open ditch tile, one of those situations again, so debris gets put in it. I actually had never been out. I was on the Ranger, so I followed it out, and I come across this project that we had no clue they were doing. And that's kind of when it started a little bit, and then Chris had called me a couple times last week, and another gentleman out that way, that the water level was not, going down in the open ditch, so then it bleeds out into their fields, and they're losing crops, of course. So when I was out there last year, I did see the tile. It was at least half full of water, and there was a little pool sitting there at the open ditch where it dumped in. There are some suck holes through this field here. I believe it's Bayes' property. So we were going to look into actually replacing that tile, probably because Bayes said there was been problems out there in the past, and so we'd look into possibly starting at the open ditch and moving upstream. But now with their, I believe, grade structures, or is that what they call them there? So they actually put these in, and it actually takes more now for the water to move away. Chris is extremely upset about it. There's another gentleman, Evans, I believe. I have a couple pictures of what they've kind of done here. They've created these dams, and it is holding back water. I mean, they did. This is one of our tiles here that's 3/4, full, and it's not draining. I mean, they did a nice job. Besides I know they're trying to clarify their water, but it's causing a problem on Chris's side. I don't know if we can upsize the tile or not to.
So who did this?
So it was called the Watershed Foundation.
Yeah, the
It was-
Watershed Foundation,
they paid
they have
for
a
it.
project on Deeds Creek. I think maybe they had, I don't know if they had some state grant funding or not.
They had DNR layer funding
So there's
as
a
well.
lot of people that have looked at it, and they had pretty bad erosion problems on the banks, and so that's what they're trying to correct by putting in step pools to slow down the velocity and hold the banks in place. That was the purpose of the project. But
Looked at me.
obviously,
I
they
don't know.
didn't. Obviously, they didn't consider what was going to happen upstream.
They knew, supposedly the contractors that were out there that I met with said that they knew about that tile, and it was not working. So they just went ahead and moved forward.
On one of the reports, they basically cut out the entire watershed for this tile and said, "Oh, it looks like it drained somewhere else." So
So shouldn't it be on them to pay for this?
Yeah.
so
I feel.
Let's admit, there's two issues. There's one issue that we got a bad tile.
Yeah.
But the other issue is they
pretty
screwed
much-
it up.
They
screwed up the outlet.
Yeah.
They should have to fix that.
Yeah, because now
outlet.
that last I was out there last week, it was a couple foot under the water, the top of the tile.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work. No.
And then at that point, there's a pool there, and it can't make its way over that next grade.
And they signed off on that project being done like that?
So I guess this gets to the point, because they did go through here where the blue is, which is, I believe, our jurisdiction, Brad, or we.
that's what we show it as. But I think the Kosciuszko County Drainage Board approved it all like they thought it was their jurisdiction. I don't know.
So this is all, a lot of that has all been done supposedly on what we think is our
This is King
jurisdiction.
County, isn't it?
That's why it surprised me that when I went out there, I found all this. But maybe they believe it's their jurisdiction.
And then the current county surveyor over there, before he was elected as a surveyor, he worked on nothing but section corners, so he had no idea what went on the
Who's the
drainage.
surveyor over there?
Jim Moyer now. Mike Kissinger retired at the end of last year.
So I don't, I mean, and Brad probably knows where, I don't see any way of it draining without pulling out some of those structures that they
Right.
put in. I don't,
They did propose that, yeah.
I don't know how you would, you know, if you would raise the tile up, of course, you have to put in a bigger tile to equal out the same amount of water flow, but, and I don't know how much,
Still not gonna push.
how big you can go, yeah.
You said
To
that
raise it.
tile's pretty flat, right?
It is, yeah.
That means it backs up farther away.
And it runs back quite a ways. It goes through what they call the gravel pit over on Chris Long's, and there is some sections of the tile that have been replaced upstream on the guy.
Yeah, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if
that's
this,
stupid.
I mean, this was done without, this is our jurisdiction or a joint jurisdiction, is that right? I mean, is that how we're taking that?
Yeah, well, that's how we have it mapped.
So what would our first step be is to send a letter to them explaining our problem and asking them that,
Which-
providing them with a.
I'll contact the surveyor and tell him what, you know, the result of our discussion, and
Okay.
we can get
Each
into more
fixed.
details about it.
Yeah.
Say it as nice as you can that they caused the problem and they need to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. That probably, them are probably as sacred as the wetlands, once they put them in.
I don't know how they plan to approach this with DNR and the Watershed Foundation. I mean, he said
They're
he
the ones
was,
that screwed up.
well, they did hire like a national level engineering firm to design this whole thing, and so I don't know how much oversight DNR had and the drainage board and all that. But
Yeah.
They did have pictures of the ditch work that they did on the Watershed Foundation on the website. So they've got pictures of that project on the website, if you want to see what they were doing.
I just don't understand why they didn't contact us when it's a drain that is under our jurisdiction. You'd think they would have contacted us when they're gonna do this whole project.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if we have it listed as joint or not, and we've run into confusions recently with other counties about who has jurisdiction where, and if it's joint or not, so. Doesn't seem like it's as clear as it seems like it should be.
Trouble is, Chris isn't gonna get a result very fast.
No, that's a bad thing.
Well, he's been out there over to the site. He's contacted the other county, and he's been staying on it. Calls me quite frequently to make sure that you guys are aware of it, and Brad's aware of the purpose that
Right.
his stuff needs to drain. And I said, yes, we're working on it. We'll bring it up to you guys today and go from there. But like I said, Brad has reached out, and they possibly talked about removing a couple of the structures. It may take a couple, 3 or so maybe. You'd have to shoot it to get the elevations to make sure. I got some shots of it last week.
If they designed this thing without even accounting for that water, they're gonna get way more water than they think they're gonna get.
This is true.
I mean,
I hadn't brought that up to the surveyor yet.
I mean, that's asinine. I mean,
We do not have the Rathburn SA as listed as joint, so it's just our drain until it meets up with the guy F1.
So it's ours until it turns to blue, correct?
It's
Right there behind Chris Long's, or,
well, it's ours until here, and then
Okay,
it's
so it
Kosciuszko
is.
County's.
so all through that squiggly blue line is where they went and did this project with the riprap and trees and control structures. It starts, that was out there, it starts actually right in here somewhere and goes all the way.
how many
through
of them
here.
are there? like those steps or whatever.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Be a high dollar deal.
Which there's nothing, there wasn't really anything behind that, that was slowing the water down really. I mean, they have big boulders in the open ditch to try to slow things down. And then they have a crossing, that they put in also, but that's not really it's, the instructions is north of where the two meet here, so this actually just comes right into here and then continues on to the Deeds Creek.
I'd say it as nice as you need to, but the water needs to be off our body. I mean,
Yeah, at least off the top, you would have to chase the grade quite a ways. I mean, the contractor wasn't wrong when he said you about had to go past the project limit.
So it was that far down. Like I said, it was at least half full when I was out there last year. It did not freeboard or flow freely at all. At that point, you know, like I said, we might need to look into getting it dipped or something, but now it's all been put with stone and.
What size tile was that? Looked pretty
24.
decent size.
Yeah. And it, right there, like I said, it is coming into, it was possibly even a steel tile. I don't remember. I couldn't get close enough to it last week when I was getting some shots to, like I said, it was such a big pool right there and deep that you can see that the tile is flowing somewhat because it does have, you know, it does have kind of a washout down in the ditch bottom. So it is moving, which they had told me it didn't work, and I said, well, I do know it works because I've seen the water flow. So
Be slow.
yeah, it's definitely slow, and I don't know, who was the gentleman out there, Brad, that was talking to us? Was he the engineer?
He was from the DNR Lake and Stream Restoration Program or whatever.
So I tried to explain to him that the tile did work, and he didn't really want to believe me because he said it goes from an open ditch to a tile to a closed ditch and can get blockage, and he was right. I mean, I'm sure there's chunks of debris and crop trash and everything else in there, but it did move. I did see it moving before. Not, you know, it wasn't running like it should, but it did at least run. And I don't think, you know, Chris is expecting the ditch to go empty, but he just is expecting it to.
I would explain to him, since it goes tile,
Well,
open tile, that there's not a lot of push compared to a normal tile.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the.
When I told him that there wasn't a lot of head to push it, he countered me that he knew how drains work because he was a surveyor for 4 years. So
He's designed many drains.
Obviously
He-
forgot.
he's
when
smart,
putting
huh?
in dams.
Yeah, he
Well,
was.
I guess my thing is, I'm no genius, but you know, if you want to stop erosion, wouldn't it have been better if they would have just came through here and dug it straight from there to there and fixed the problem?
possibly the windiness, if you reinforce the bends, does slow it down, so that reduces.
And they are, I mean, it's impressive out there what they've done. They've had erosion control mats and rip-rap. I mean, it looks nice, but it's, where it's built up, I think it's holding us back. Beautiful project.
I'd say it's their baby.
Yeah, I
Fix
think
it.
so too. If they caused the problem, they
That's
should
my
fix it
opinion.
and pay for it.
I would feel the same way as far as at the open ditch. If we did have to, if we could raise it or make it a bigger tile or whatever, I think at that point it's.
There, I mean, they can't block a tile. Explain that to them.
Yeah.
If we were planning on replacing the tile anyways, maybe we can replace the tile with our funds there, but all the work in the ditch, it would be up to them. So,
Right.
That does need replaced. I mean,
It's like I said, it's been half full. There are a couple suck holes out in that field. There's some stuff through there on the east side of that driveway that needs to be cleared another thing of spraying tiles, once again, because it goes through there. You can see there's a pine tree right on top of it here on the east side of the drive. It's hard, you can't even follow the tile from the open ditch because of this clump of trees there in the middle down by that section, so.
When you say it was half full, that was before this project, it was half full?
When I saw it last year when I was out there, yes, it was half. That tile, I don't remember what it was, where it went from open ditch to.
There is.
They told me that they had never seen it flowing, it never working, and I told them that, I said, I did see it actually half full and flowing water, but that's, I said, they said.
Is that tile on a list of something to replace?
There is a repair application open that all it says is need to replace the next phase of the replacement. And I don't know if that's this phase or if that's
So-
up by 950 West.
Yeah, there was, and there are some, through that woods and area, I believe there are some wetlands through there, so of course that creates another issue. There is a section here, to the east of 950 that has not been replaced. You can see they've kind of bounced around. So I wasn't sure exactly which section they were actually meaning. That was previous notes. But yeah, it's we do need to do some work along this open there. Some trees on the south side of it. I do believe that side is out of the flood or out of the wetland area, I believe.
There is another application in here that says, I think it's talking about the very end, the very bottom, because it has the Coffins property listed as one of the parcels and Chris Long's property listed, and it says station 0 to 14 plus 15, so.
So that's probably from the open to, or from the, yeah, from there to. There's mine, so.
That's about 1,400 feet there.
Because, yeah, we looked through there, possibly clearing some on the south side to be able to get access, because we do have problems with beaver dams through there and blockage, and it's another mess.
I just can't understand how they would block a tile. I think, well, surely that county tile doesn't drain anything.
Right.
Just doesn't make any sense.
They all saw it.
Huh.
So,
All right. You got our response?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so last meeting, we brought up the possibility of switching to a cume drain system instead of watershed assessment. Mainly you asked me to try and get a hold of the ordinance from Elkhart County on their cume drain setup. Well, it turns out their cume drain was established in the early 1980s, and they don't have a copy of their ordinance in the surveyor's office, and they have their records person digging through the records trying to see if they can find it. So I did pull some data from our databases that have kind of a look here. I think we collected just over $1 million in 2024 for drains. If we were to switch to a cume drain with the 5% assessment, it would be just under $1.2 million with the assessed values from 2024. So it's relatively the same. I did also kind of compare by property who would be paying more or less with cume drain versus watershed. If you basically just take all the assessments as they are now and compare it, I think it's about half would be paying, less or the same if we switch to cume drain system. If we were to theoretically assume every drain in the county would get their assessments raised to what we've been raising it to at some point in the future, then basically 100% of the parcels would be paying less under a cume drain system. Over the past 5 years, there was kind of a big jump in assessment collected between 2022 and 2023. So, if we go by the 2022 collection, only a quarter of the parcels would be paying less under cume drain. But after, from 2023 through 2025, 3/4 of the parcels would be paying less under cume drain. So that's just food for thought. In general, we'd be getting about the same amount of money as we've been collecting. The majority of people would be paying less, and we would have that money to use. We still need to get the ordinance from Elkhart County. But does anybody have any other questions right now?
So how much, do you have an idea what it costs per acre?
It's not per acre. It's 5 cents for every $100 of assessed value of your property, including structures and improvements. And that just comes from the assessor's office. So it's a whole different way of looking at it. It's not by acre anymore.
And is it all gonna be just one big deal, or is it like Noble County, I think they divide it up into, I don't know what they call it.
Yeah,
They're
just
separate,
bigger watersheds.
bigger
yeah.
watersheds.
Mhm.
This would just be one big watershed, the whole county.
Basically, yeah. Kind of how the city and towns run their stormwater collection. So, I do not think that I had Excel cut out any properties in the city limits, so that would have a big effect on this. But so that's my bad for overlooking that. But because we would not be able to collect cume drain from any parcels located in any of the 4 incorporated areas.
But they'd have to pay us.
Well, we'd have to enter into an interlocal agreement whenever we worked on a drain through the town, but to come up with some sort of cost split. So instead of charging that, like with the Columbia City, we currently send them how much we're assessing in the town or the city, and then they just send us a check from their stormwater collection. They don't pass it on to their citizens. So instead of doing that, we would just come to them and say, hey, we're working on this drain. It's going to cost this much. Let's do a 50-50 split or something.
But NIPSCO, they get assessed
They do get
per
assessed,
house,
yes.
right?
Yeah, so then this would be something new for them, but
Right.
they would have to, the town would somehow have to cough up the money, and I don't know if they have a stormwater collection.
I don't think it's a bad idea, but I don't know that it's the right time with all the assessments being raised. I think it's good to get everything we need from all the other counties and look into it more, but I don't know, that's just my thought.
And I don't want to jump into this without knowing.
Yeah, exactly what we're getting into.
Yeah.
Right. It might be worth getting a lot of public input too. I don't know how we go about
Yeah.
that, one massive
I
public
think-
hearing.
I just think you're gonna have a lot of people ticked, especially the people that you have just paid into a huge amount of drainage stuff, so.
What happens to that $2 million or whatever we got?
We would keep it broken down into the individual drains, and if a project happens on that drain, we would use the money in its fund first and then supplement it with cume drain funding after that.
Almost 3 million.
I mean, it would be nice in certain cases, for sure, just like where we were talking here out on 5. I know the whole tile is junk, there's not a lot of people in the watershed. it can flood over 5, it floods out a couple farmers' fields, it floods their, boom, we could do it. That would be great, but on the other hand, I think we'll get a lot of kickback from property owners that are nowhere in close to a drain, and now their taxes just went up, whatever, 0.05%. But
And then you just, the counter argument, I guess, is that it is kind of similar to roads. If you ever drive on a road, that road is served by a county drain, and this is helping keep that road dry.
I always kind of like the idea of when I paid into a drain. It was
that's
our
nice
drain,
also, yeah,
you know?
you pay in and it stays in there, that's
Right.
nice, but.
Right. You had control over it, kind of.
I get the.
When you do this, I'm not sure who's gonna pull the trigger on who gets it and who doesn't.
You guys.
Yeah, every time.
We'll have to probably evaluate each tile and decide which one is more important to do. And
Squeaky wheel will get to grease.
Make sure we spread it out to the 9 townships.
I mean, I get the benefit of it because you can do a project instantly because the money's there. But yeah, I think we're gonna get a lot of kickback.
Anyways, we'll keep looking into it.
All right.
So I probably will not put it on next month's agenda unless we get the ordinance from Elkhart County.
Sounds good. Okay.
There's one thing I did not put on here, and it's still in our mind, and that's the tile spraying. I was going to try and look at all the locations that were connected to a ditch that we are currently spraying. Then those stretches of tile can just be added to the ditch spray contract. And then we would have to come up with a second contract that I don't know, we'd probably want to get quotes for or bid out separately for the hard to get tiles. And even Chad Baker with Right Away said he would use a different spray on a different rig that was low impact, like a side-by-side or something like that, that you could drive across people's lawns and it wouldn't tear anything up.
'cause, yeah, we will have areas that have already been planted that you would about have to drive right through the middle of the field unless they can stay to the edge to get to these. But as our days go on, and after last year, I don't know if it was because it was dry or what, but we just have, every case has root problems. It's terrible. I've been taking out a few trees here and there, and people sometimes are not happy, but I explained to them that I even have been trying to do a little preventative. It's close and we had a problem close, we're gonna take them out, so. But we do have to stay on looking at spraying tiles. We found some big open sections that are still getting clogged with roots, even from 50 foot away, so.
Jeez.
It'd be nice to have the trees off one side of the ditch at least, where they're going through these woods.
Yeah.
So a guy could drive through there and spray both sides.
Yeah, I mean,
You'd have to get to collect and have enough money just to take it off one side.
and it does seem like we have raised a lot of assessments, but that's the only way we can get anywhere, really. With everything, the rates are so low.
Yeah.
Everything we come across is low rates and has no money in. I mean, even though it seems like all we do is raise them, but.
Yeah, that 67 cents an acre just blew my mind. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
where in the world, you know?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Move on to field work.
Only thing I have here is, so we have property owners, Dick Kyler and Brady Wright are requesting to increase the assessment on their KERCH C. Right now it's $4 an acre, $25 a minimum. It's 848 acres. We're proposing to raise it 40 and 200. It would bring in $35,017.44. We do have the first phase, estimated of 2,800 feet of 30-inch. Start on the east side of Raber Road with about $96,000. So just asking if we can put it on for next month to raise the assessment.
You looked at it, it all low.
It's all in bad shape. They did replace a little bit on the other side from the open ditch across Raber Road, and then the rest of it is just
The tile is that old clay tile, it's just.
it's
Yeah.
served its purpose.
Its purpose, yeah. I think we need to address that. That's,
Sounds like we need to do it to me.
So I think we probably need a motion to.
Motion for a hearing.
Yeah.
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mike and Dave. It's been properly moved and seconded that we have a hearing at the advertised rate for the KERCH C 362-000B for $40 an acre and $200 minimum, which would put it at collecting $35,017.44. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
And the only other thing I really have, it's not on there, but just Jenny and I were talking just about some of these that we were speaking with Steve previously about just doing them as maintenance, raising that they're low, we foresee work or clearing or dipping, and just if we can start moving forward to just try to put 3 or 4 or 5 together, and we don't want to overload us and the room, but I think we need to keep moving forward unless you guys have a different plan. Everybody wants something done, and there's never any money.
Right. Relative
So
low.
I run into it every day.
Just go for it.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else? Guys?
No, thanks, Max, for all the work
Yep.
and Brad
Yeah.
for what you do, because I know it's busy. Busy.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.